Welcome to DRB Tunnel Solutions training. In this training, we're going to take a look at the Patheon tunnel loader operations from a POS terminal. Let's get started. When you're presented with a login at a Patheon tunnel loader, you'll want to make sure that you log in to somebody that has tunnel loader employee role responsibilities. For example, if I log in here to someone who only has POS access, you'll notice that it defaults to the Sales tab, and if I try to go to the wash queue, it'll show that my access is restricted. This particular user does not have tunnel loader capabilities. I'm now going to log into a user that has both POS and tunnel loader capabilities. And you'll notice that when you log in here, it does still default to the Sales tab. However, you have access to the wash queue. If you set up a user that has tunnel user capabilities only, it'll default to this wash queue page and stay on this page for 90% of the operations that you perform. You still have access to the Sales tab for things like rewashes, etc., and the Customer tab, but it'll default to the wash queue. Once we're on the wash queue tab, let's talk about the different areas of the screen. First, on the right-hand side, you'll notice that there are retracts. For example, you'll see that I've selected retracts, and the vehicle that I'm applying them to is the vehicle down here that is selected with yellow. You'll notice as I tap any vehicle in any position, it shows a picture of that vehicle, as well as any retracts that are associated with those vehicles. Now, you can actually add or remove retracts to vehicles in any position before they go to the tunnel, and the system will automatically send them over when they get to the first position. When you press the Send Car button, the vehicle is sent over to the tunnel controller, and then once it hits the electronic eye and measures a minimum vehicle, typically in most systems, you'll notice that the queue advanced. So now instead of having 4 vehicles in queue, we now have 3, and the last vehicle that's sent was shown here in the picture. If, for example, that vehicle was marked as sent, but we still need to provide an extra roller, for example, if they hop a roller, you can press the Send Roller button, which will issue another roller over to the tunnel controller. You'll notice that by default, we can see up to 7 or 8 retracts on the main page. If we have more than 8, you'll have to press the Show All button to see additional retracts. The system will remember retracts that are automatically associated with your plan members, such as this Bobby customer here, as well as if you're using our license plate recognition system, all other customers' retracts will be remembered. When you add a retract to a vehicle, for example, this plan customer, you can tap the retract once to add it permanently to their record if they're a plan customer or a license plate recognition customer. If you tap a second time, the system will treat it like a single use or a temporary retract. So, for example, if my truck came in today and it had a trailer hitch attached, but normally either my employees or the operator or the vehicle operator removes the trailer hitch, I may only press so that it retracts my brushes once around that trailer hitch today. You can move vehicles in queue by tapping and holding any vehicle in any position. This brings you into edit mode. You'll notice that the top of the screen went dim, and you can tap and hold and drag the vehicle to a new position. If you drag slowly, you'll notice that there is an orange square underneath where the vehicle will be positioned. Also of note, dragging and dropping is rarely needed, because typically we only want to send some other vehicle in the second, third, or higher position. We want to send it as the first position. In other words, the car that's sitting in the position ready to be sent to the wash is one of these other vehicles. If that's the case, select the vehicle that's in the first position and merely press Send Car. You'll notice that the vehicle hops to the first position and then gets sent to the tunnel controller. Once it advances, it moves over to the right-hand side, and the queue keeps the same order. If your queue is still out of order, you can select the second vehicle and press Send Car, and it'll move it to the first position and send. I'm now going to fill up my system with some fake washes here in this demonstration by just Queuing up a bunch of rewashes. You'll notice when you add rewashes, once you select a reason and click Submit, the rewash is automatically occupying a queue position. Typically, if you're doing this, you won't have pictures associated with them, but in my demo system, we're automatically supplying sample pictures for these queue positions. We're going to queue up a few more washes to show you some great features of Patheon. And this has to do with large vehicle or multi-vehicle queue processing. You'll notice that once you go beyond the 6 visible cars in the first 6 positions, we get these buttons that automatically come up onto the screen that allow you to scroll to the next page of washes. If I wanted to move this to the first position, I can press Send, and it'll bring that vehicle to the first position, car 834, and send it over to the tunnel controller. From time to time, there may be a problem with your controller. In other words, we're not getting the signals back that the cars are advancing. This typically has to do if we're not monitoring the enter switch on third-party controllers, but can sometimes happen with our tunnel watch system where we miss an advancement signal. In that instance, we might have a gray send car button. If the send car button is gray, you can press and hold the gray send car button. You will get a dialog indicating that you can advance that vehicle out of that first position. It'll move that vehicle as if we've washed it and continue to process your queue. However, it's possible that we've sent all these vehicles over to the tunnel, but none of them have advanced over. In that instance, we may need to do something where if we have more than 6 cars or a large number of cars in queue and we want to remove them all at once, we can actually press the Hardware tab and click the Clear Wash Queue button. This will tell us that all vehicles in the queue will be removed at the same time. Note that when you do this, this is undoable, so it's destructive to your queue and you really can't rebuild that queue with those same vehicles. I'm going to cancel that for now and be more selective as to which vehicles I remove. For example, maybe these vehicles are 3 of the same vehicle and I need to remove 2. I will tap and hold to go into edit mode and then click the Remove from Queue button or Trash Can button over on the right hand side. This selectively removes whatever is highlighted with the orange bounding box and arrows. To exit the edit mode, you can tap the dark area at the top of the screen, and we're back to our normal queue. Now we're going to clear the entire queue. We'll go ahead and click Hardware, Clear Wash Queue, and you'll notice that all the vehicles have now left from the queue. Other things of note. If you have a planned customer, for example, my customer Bobby that I entered before, and we apply the plan from the customer page, the vehicle will automatically enter queue. Some things of note about the wash queue position. You can click the name, and it is a hyperlink to bring you back directly into that customer record. The tunnel loader may from time to time want to click the Add Notes, for example, and add some details about the vehicle. Big scratch on driver side front. We can click the tunnel entrance slider to warn that there is a note associated with this customer each time they come to the tunnel entrance. You'll now notice that there's a note badge that gets superimposed over top of the yellow area here, and the notes button has turned from transparent to yellow. This means we need to review notes. As we click on notes, the note that we need to review is on the left-hand side. We can also add temporary notes. For example, I will go ahead and click the customer again and add a second note. Needs plan brochure. We can warn anywhere where we pull this customer up that they need a brochure. You'll notice now that they have 2 notes on their record. And if, for example, we want to keep a note on the account, for example, a scratch on the driver's side front, we can tap and go through the different options to indicate where the scratch is located on the vehicle, as well as keeping the alert if we want to. If we gave the customer a plan brochure and we don't need to see this alert anymore, we can slide off the Keep Alert slider, and the next time that this vehicle is put into queue, we won't see it. I'll go ahead and send the car. Also of note, if there are retracts on a customer's record, for example, my Bobby plan customer, and we go into this customer, you'll notice that the vehicle that we have associated with the plan can have its retracts edited. So you can add retracts at any time, whether the customer is in queue or not. From the tunnel loader screen, you can go to the wash tab as well and fire rewashes. And if you have a cash drawer, you could even sell washes and use the cash function. If you don't have a cash drawer, the cash function will be grayed out and you're not able to take cash. If you don't have a credit card reader, you won't be able to take credit card either, and you'll only be able to perform rewash sales operations or plan applications the way that we do here by finding a customer, finding their plan, and clicking the Apply Plan button. Notice that the notes also show up in the Apply dialog, as well as giving you the ability to click the Apply Plan this way. We've now added that wash back to queue. We have all notes, including the kept alert and the detail about damage. If we have damage notes, that'll be recorded as a third style of note. If you see that the picture that is on the plan does not match, for example, the vehicle does not match, we'll go ahead and click Apply Plan right now. And if we see that the vehicle here does not match the car on the plan, but this current car is the correct vehicle, for example, if they got a new paint job or new vehicle finish, or merely you want to replace the picture that was taken at the plan sale with a new picture, you can click the camera button, which will replace the plan picture with today's picture. If you want to undo that change, you'll hit the undo button. If you want to mark that the cars do not match, for example, someone may be sharing a FastPass tag or a license plate, you can click Cars Do Not Match on this screen. Also, from time to time, you may have several different wash types in different positions. We have 3 different wash varieties, good, better, and best, and I've added them to the wash queue, but you can't see directly which wash is in which position. If I want to know the wash that's on the vehicle in the 3rd position, I'll select the 3rd position and select the wash tab to view which wash is there. It's also noteworthy that if you have any offline services, they will be shown under here as well. Let's take a quick side trip over to the setup of the Patheon system. I'm going to set up an offline tire shine service. I will add the service, call it Offline Tire Shine. I will tell the system that it's a wash type service, however, it's going to be manually applied by my employees and not applied in the tunnel. I'll go ahead and save that setup. I'll now go to the product section and find my existing online tire shine application and duplicate it. I will call it Offline Tire Shine. By duplicating it, it's added the existing tire shine service that's online in the tunnel, so I can click the X button to remove that and add my offline tire shine service to this a la carte. Maybe since there's manual work involved, I'll change the price to be $1 higher. And since I duplicated, it kept the tire shine icon that I had on my last button. By default, the system will automatically add a button to your POS, so we'll save. We'll make sure it's active at our site. Once we've made sure that that's active, we can go into the Sites and Groups section and select our current site. The POS Point of Sale Management screen will show the new Offline Tire Shine button that was created automatically by the system. I can move it down here under the regular tire shine. I can also click the button and change the color next to the tire shine. This will show me that it is an a la carte service, just like the others. Maybe I can give it a different color to indicate that it's an offline service. I like that, so I'll go ahead and save. I'll go back to my point of sale, and after some amount of time, typically 30 to 45 seconds, those changes have been pushed down to the terminal. You can usually click on the Active Sales tab and back, or reload your terminal, or log out and log back in to see these buttons. We may just not have waited long enough in this case, but I'm going to go ahead and log out and back in. And there's my new change. I'll add the offline tire shine to a wash and cash it out. This will automatically put the wash into queue. You'll notice that when you have an offline service added to a vehicle, you will get this very generic square. However, when you go to the Wash tab, you will see bulleted lines that show the offline services that were added. Keep in mind that you will also see if complementary products were added to this wash. For example, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my portal. I'm going to go to my Wash Product Setup, and I will reset my view. And I'm going to go to my Good Wash. Maybe I want to add a new Good Wash. I will duplicate it, and I'll call it Good with Free Air Freshener. Under the Complementary Items section, I can press Configure and select the complementary item that I want to go with my wash. For example, I can type air and see my lobby air freshener product. I'll click Add and save the product. It's active at my sites, so now I've added a new wash. I'll go back to my point of sale management screen and make sure that my button looks okay. Maybe I'll put it underneath my normal Good Wash. I'll change the color on the side to something like purple. And then maybe I'll move some of these buttons to keep some separation on my screen. I'll save and publish. Once that change has been synced down, here my screen has changed. I'll sell the Good with Free Air Freshener. It adds the complimentary air freshener item to the sale. I'll cash it out. The sale has been tendered. The item's been added to the queue, and you'll notice that now there's a gift icon associated with the complimentary item. If we click the wash button, you'll see the 1X air freshener that was added as the complimentary item in this case. The badge can be used for notes, offline services, complimentary items, as well as if you sell a plan. Let me go to the plan section and we'll sell a brand new Unlimited Better plan to a brand new customer. Put in their phone number. We'll give them a name. And fill out all other required fields. Keep in mind that the fields that are required on your system may be different than the fields on my system. This is a customizable setup section for plan sales. Once we have all required fields, we can click Add to Cart. It adds the plan to the cart, and we activate the credit card reader in order to dip the card and add the payment card to the plan. In that instance, I forgot to add the plan to the queue, so I'll go back to my customer list and find the plan customer by looking them up by their name and by pressing Apply Plan. Since I didn't snap a picture, I sold this plan directly at my terminal, not when they were at the XPT. I don't have a picture of the vehicle. I'll go ahead and apply this vehicle to the wash queue. You'll notice now that there's 7 cars in queue, and my demo system did assign it a generic picture even though it didn't have a picture. But you'll notice here there's a calendar icon. A calendar icon means that this is the first day of a brand new plan customer. This may be useful, for example, if the vehicle is an RFID customer and you need to add that RFID after they've been sold at the XPT. This is a quick way also to identify any web customers that have purchased online and have come for the first time if they need an RFID tag. If you're a license plate recognition site and we already have their plate on file, nothing else is needed, but the calendar icon will still be there for the first visit of that customer. We also have the capability to set up what's called automatic sending. If we go into the site hardware, under the tunnel interface, and edit this, you'll notice that today we have the manual send car option. This means I have to press the send car button every time I want to issue rollers. However, you can automatically send a send car signal as soon as you get a vehicle into that first position. So the very first vehicle that gets into queue, we can automatically issue rollers and pull it in. If you're selling washes right at the tunnel entrance, this could be a way to quickly send the car. Also keep in mind, this is usually if you're not doing any prep before going into the tunnel that takes a bit of time. If you turn on automatic vehicle sending and click save, it'll change the display of the wash queue and add some additional functionality. We'll go ahead and flip back to our POS. And you'll notice that now we have the send car button, which is bound by yellow, indicating that the send car is automatically done when a vehicle enters the first position. You'll notice that these vehicles were already in queue, so they didn't move into the first position. So the system has not seen anything move into the first position yet. So what I will do is send this first car. It goes through, it hits the eye, and then it will be advanced eventually into my tunnel controller. And then when the next vehicle gets into the first position, the automatic send car should take over and continue triggering the vehicles. And you'll notice that the automatic send car is now working. My vehicle queue is clearing itself out. It's sending each vehicle one at a time. Once the vehicle passes the eye, it advances it out, and it sends the next vehicle. So it's issuing new sets of rollers between each of these cars, pulling them into the eye in the tunnel, and advancing them out once they go through. If I need to turn that off, I can go to the Hardware tab, and there's now a Disable Auto Send button that'll disable that functionality. Keep in mind, when you disable that functionality, you will see that orange bounding box indicating the first vehicle needs to be sent by pressing the send car function to re-enable the auto send once that's turned back on. Notice that the auto send, once I sent that first vehicle, it isn't enabled by default, so I will go ahead and click enable. And again, this first vehicle will not auto send, so you'll have to press send car at least once. And then each subsequent vehicle that you add to queue, such as this rewash, when auto send is enabled, will automatically send the car when it's in the first position. You'll notice that the car is gray, the send car button is gray, because it's already been sent over to the tunnel queue. So, turning on and off auto send when you have that function enabled is done via the Hardware tab with an additional disable or enable auto send function. The enable button is blue, and the disable function is a white button with red text. And those are tunnel loader operations on the Patheon POS terminal. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please send them to training@drb.com.